We are coming to the very end of 2022. This year has flown by. But what have we learned this year that can help us prepare for 2023? Every day we try to get a little bit better and try to learn a little bit more from the times past. For instance, you hear the water going, we're filling up cattle water. One thing we learned this year because of the cold weather is even though we're covering up, even though we're icing over, we need to double the amount of water that we gave them the day before. So they had double the excess that we would typically give them in a day. And guess what? They didn't run out of water. So we learned to do things better. Pigs, we've learned to, we've had 2 deliveries of pigs in the last week. So little piglets, 2 new calves, and it's been the coldest it's been in a decade. So what we're gonna learn from next year and for 23 is let's watch their breeding and making sure that we plan to not have any little animals on farm around this time. So we learn to do things better. Now let's talk about that in a perspective of mentally, physically, and spiritually. How can we get ready for 2023 from what we've learned from 2022? This is going to be a good video, and it talks about prepping in a little bit different perspective to understand that we need to be ready for anything that comes our way. Could be storms, winter storms like we've had. Could be power outages like a lot of people has felt through this storm. And it could be just bad government. Whatever it may be, we need to be ready. This video starts right now. So you hear the running water. It literally sounds like somebody's just over here peeing, or one of the cows are peeing and never stopping. So I'm sorry about the water sound. So I'm glad to have moving water though, because we haven't had it in a few days. It has been very, very cold here in South Mississippi. Way colder than I'm used to. We bought these ski jackets a few years back, and I thought we'd never use them other than when we skied one time. And man, they've been awesome. So have that cold weather up there, guys. We need warmer weather here in the South. Welcome to the Max. Thank you so much for being here. If you're new to our channel, go down here, press subscribe. We're hoping to do a monster giveaway as we get close to 200,000 subscribers. It's not that far. We've been gaining to where hopefully at the very first of 2023, we are gonna be giving away solar generators. We're gonna be giving away battery packs, major seed hauls for spring and planting. We're gonna be giving away all kinds. We have a $500 gift certificate to Harvest Right to get that much off of a freeze dryer. So we have got some great gifts. So go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, share this to other people, because the only thing you have to do is subscribe and you're automatically entering the giveaway. Now let's jump into the video. We've learned so much this year of how bad it really can get. We've seen that really for the last 3 years in 2 different administrations, how we can be maybe controlled or manipulated to believe one way or the other. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but it does show we need to be ready for anything that's thrown our way. We've had some power outages this year. We've seen major issues with grids, like in North Carolina and Texas. We've seen storms like we've had. Crazy how cold it's gotten lately. We've seen war, and we're doing a proxy war and giving tons of money to one side. We see China's economy really struggling and uprisings there. We see sickness coming back around. So how can we prepare? This is very generic because I want you to understand that we don't know what's really thrown our way. So let's talk about 3 ways we can prepare, and that is physically, mentally, and spiritually as we maneuver into 2023. First, let's talk physical. Well, physical is easy. We can make ourselves prep and get ready physically because, again, that's what we've been talking about for the last few months. Physically buying food, physically storing up food, physically grabbing things and working hard on our grounds to get gardens growing, maybe building new pantry shelves, maybe learning a new skill. We're physically, manually doing things to get better, to prepare for the hard times to come. Now, no one wants to see another depression. No one wants to see a deeper recession. No one wants to see higher inflation where your dollar's not worth anything. But what are we doing? We're physically preparing by putting up food. There's more food shortages coming in 2023. It's all we hear about. Is it true? Is it not? Who knows? But I want to be ready, so I'm physically buying food. I'm growing these cattle. I milk cows every morning at 4. Why do we do that? Because we are physically preparing for harder times. So what does that look like for you? If you live in town, a small garden. We talked about raising chickens. We talked about raising rabbits. I did a video on canned food storage. That means physically going to the store and buying groceries. Sometimes you can't grow it. That's okay. You can buy it. It's all about physically doing the things to be ready for what's coming. You hear all the time people say, these naysayers say, oh, well, what's coming? Nothing's come yet. What are you preparing for? You're wasting your time and money. No, we're not. I mean, I didn't have to worry about it. I had generators to run my house. Propane. We had a solar generator. We had firewood put up. We've prepped for whatever come with a storm. We've got major loads of food put up. We've got storage of water put up. It could have been simple storms. What about the North Carolina power grid going down? Were those people ready for the winter? What about in Europe, where you see major issues with energy and crisis there? Look at the stories in Paris. Look at the stories in China at what some of the things that are happening. So if you were physically prepared and you were ready for those kind of uprisings, you wouldn't be as stressed, because guess what? You're ready. Now, physical preparedness is all about building those skills and practicing those skills. Buying food, going to grow food, learning how to butcher, learning how to process, learning how to hunt. You're physically doing something. If you're older and you can't do some of those things, grow those microgreens inside, grow those herbs, grow those salads. A lot of times growing those leafy greens, those things are supplemental to what we're having to eat with canned food, and maybe some of the things that may not be as healthy, you're adding those super nutrients with some of the other food. That's one side. Let's jump into the second. Let's get mentally prepared. So now we're going a little bit deeper. How can we mentally prepare for what's coming? One thing we've seen is between social media issues, between maybe silencing and banning, maybe the manipulation of the information we're hearing, what does that make you do? It makes you fear, it makes you stress, it makes you worry about what is to come. So if we mentally put ourselves in a place where we know times may not be the best, we realize our stock markets are not doing good. We realize the struggle of the dollar. We see crypto failing. We see the talk of CBDC. We see the talk of $600, threshold where they're going to start taxing us for all the things like selling a used couch. Those things make us mentally wary, and makes us worry a lot more. It makes me worry. So it makes my physical side of prepping get involved a little bit more. Now, what does it do when we physically prepare? It helps us not stress as much on the mental preparedness. We learn to plan to help us build up those preps. We learn to be a little bit more at ease, because if I know the power may go out, and I did, I lost one of my AC units, which is my heat pump, during this storm. What 12 and 16 degrees, we learned to close off our doors because of prepping. We've learned to light our fires and have open fires. We've learned to put a little fan by the fireplace. We've learned to make sure we have enough seasoned wood to put with the new wood to make it conserve and make it last longer. We know how to light a fire with dryer lint. We know how to stay warm. We know how to have those preps. We've mentally thought through that process. So now we get to the mental part of this, where we've done all the physical preps, which is making it easy to mentally prep, but we don't know what's coming. We don't know how bad it can get. We don't know, it may all of a sudden get really good and get a lot better. So if it gets better, and you hear a lot of naysayers, a lot of the commenters, they'll say, oh, it's getting a whole lot better. You saw we actually went down on inflation year over year. That was 1 month, so I don't think it's getting that much better. But say it does, say it all of a sudden turns great and our recession is over, we're in a surplus and we are doing great. Well, then all you've done is prepare for the next time. Remember, we ebb and flow all the way through our lifetime. Our life is cycles. We're gonna see bad times, we're gonna see worse times, we're gonna see great times, we're gonna see prosperous times. But if you take the times that you are prospering, you see the times that you need to work harder, then it helps you prepare mentally for the times that may be a little harder. What it also does is it teaches the generations to be better behind you. If you don't teach them the history and teach them what they can learn from the past, then they'll never mentally prepare for their cycle that they will have to go through. The people in the Depression knew hard times. If they passed that on, and hopefully they did, they passed down canning, they passed down hunting, they passed down knowledge and wisdom to help the next generations to get through maybe the hard times are to come. We've heard that, you know, things are going to get way worse in 23, and they may. They may not. But guess what? If they do, if you're mentally ready for it, it helps you not stress and worry because you've got the physical skills and preps put aside. You've planned mentally for what's to come. Now let's talk about the third thing you need to make sure you have on your side, because physical and mental are just two parts. Let's talk spiritual. I promise you guys, no one's peeing right beside me. It really is the water that you hear that I'm filling up these big troughs. So I'm still sorry for that sound. Number 3. As a Christian, now I'm a Christian, we are a Christian family, we believe spiritually that we see a world failing because of the morals and values that we're going through. So as a prepper, I look at things a little bit different. I don't look at everything as, oh, well, the fiscal policy is bad, we're printing money, and it's gonna get worse. That's one aspect. But because I compare it to times in other empires, and we see and learn from studying, the fall of nations usually falls around morals and values, then they implode, and then all the other stuff is more of a domino effect. So if we don't morally get better, then I don't believe our world or our America or whatever area that we're in our region, we may see tough times because spiritually we are failing as a nation. Now, you may not believe that way. That's okay. But that is one way we need to spiritually prepare. Christian or not, I believe that we need to have faith in something. We need to have a common faith in something. If you're not believing in Christ like we do, you need to make sure that you can trust people. If we don't see a right or wrong, how do we believe that people are going to spend our money correctly in Washington? If we don't believe a right and a wrong, how are we going to take care of folks like in Ukraine? Even though I believe we're probably putting that money in the wrong places, how are we going to literally take care of those people? Is Red Cross going to go because they're not morally obligated anymore? Is Salvation Army going to help? They're not morally obligated anymore. So you see that almost what we call common grace. We believe that if you're not spiritually tied to something, then morally you're probably not tied to it either. You don't have any values. People are not worth anything. Okay, so if we start seeing that decline more, do you really think times are going to get better or worse? So because of that spiritual battle, as a Christian prepper and as someone we look at things are not getting better, the only way for me to think things are going to get better is more spiritually. And to me, when spiritually things get better, I believe other parts of our America gets better. So if we're trying to spiritually prepare, like we physically prepared for bad times, we mentally prepared for maybe financial crisis or bad times. So now we're talking spiritual prepare for bad times. What I mean is I'm going to have faith and know that it's going to be okay. Now, it may not be okay for me through this cycle. It may be tough times. We may go through a very bad year next year. But then I look back and say, as bad as it was, I still have all my family. I still have my wife. I still have our farm. Through all this sickness and cold that we went through, I didn't lose any animals. You can be thankful. So spiritually, we say, you know what? I see where God's brought me. Now I see where I'm going. Now, again, say for instance, you're looking common grace and you say, well, I'm not a Christian. Well, I believe you should be first and foremost. But say you're not, then you have to see the goodwill in people. You have to say, well, are they working for the good of humanity? Are they working for the good of America? Are they working for the good of the children at the border? Are they working for the good of the true Ukrainian people? Are they working for the good to not want to see war? We want to see peace. Is that a probability? Can that happen? So we want to see good in people. Well, we're in a nation where things are so polarized, we have to personally prepare spiritually before we ever see healing as a nation. So how are you spiritually preparing? Are you maybe doing a devotion a day? Are you starting your day off in a word of prayer? Are you saying, hey, I just want to be better? Again, let's not talk about the Bible or devotion. Maybe you just want to be a better person so that way you can hold the door open and have common chivalry for someone. Maybe just simply saying a thank you. It's all about making our world better. So spiritually, we need to be a little bit more maybe caring, maybe more loving. What is it for you? So if you're looking spiritually at a Christian way of thinking or a morally common grace or just being a better person, that's going to ultimately help you in the long run. Maybe it's building knowledge and wisdom to help your neighbor. Maybe it's trying to be more family oriented, where your kids understand the value of the life that you're choosing to live. Maybe it's just loving on your kids so one day they understand what values and morals are. We didn't pass that down. For some reason, it seems like our nation is failing our next generation. So if you want to be ready for 2023, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be storms, it could be war, it could be sickness. If you prepare physically, food, skills, getting out there with your hands doing work, maybe taking a side hustle because times got bad. Preparing mentally, planning. Because of the physical, now you're at ease, you're not worrying as much. You have a more centered thought pattern to say, you know what, I've prepared myself mentally for this. I've read books on it. I've discussed with other people in the community how we can grow. I've learned how to grow food. I've learned how to milk a cow. I've learned how to put up canned food. I've learned how to freeze dry. You build knowledge, so it makes it easier for those times. And then lastly, spiritually, if we learn to just be better and not just hate everybody. That's one thing about social media. Sometimes because we're talking to screens, it kind of looks like feelings don't matter and we're just rude to people. We don't care. We don't want to open doors for anybody. The last 2 or 3 years when we were in lockdowns, it seems like nobody wanted to talk to anyone. No one wanted to help anybody. We got to get past that. So spiritually, are you, in the Bible, and are you doing a devotion? Are you trying to build a humility? Are we trying to learn to be humble? Are we trying to be civil? Are we helping our neighbor when they need help? Whatever it may be, those 3 things can help you prepare, and no matter what comes for 2023. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We do hope that you've had a great 2022. If you've had a great 2022, it helps you be thankful and know that, hey, those preps are good, and it helps us prepare for 2023. Maybe things are not that good. Maybe 2022 wasn't a good year for you. Let's learn from what we have went through and the history we went through to make us have a better next year. Maybe we've learned from a mistake. We've learned from a lot of mistakes in 2022. So we're going to try to do better for 2023. That is what it means to give back to society, to be good, to physically, mentally, and spiritually prepare for what's to come. No matter what it is, you'll be ready. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you liked what you saw, give me a thumbs up. Give me a comment below. Tell me what you're doing for 2023. If you did like this video, give me a thumbs down and tell me why you didn't like it. And hopefully you've had a great Christmas season, a great 2022, and now we're hoping that you have a great 2023. Thank you again for watching. God bless. Happy homesteading, y'all.